Right? What are you hoping to achieve down here at Occupy Portland?
So I've been coming down, I've been organizing since about 4 or 5 weeks before this all went down, starting in late August. And I'm hoping to change the system. Like, I really understand that our system is broken, our economic system. We need an economic system that meets the needs of people and within the confines of the planet. And the current economic system doesn't do that. I am a business owner, I'm involved in the business community, I teach business, I understand business, and our business system is broken.
Okay, so what system would you recommend that we go towards?
Well, you know, so just say that I don't have a solution like some communism or socialism or whatever. I would say I really do believe in free market economics. Their market systems work and allocate goods and resources in a certain way. The problem that we have right now is we have a system where all the funds and money pools at the top. And what I often say is like the game of Monopoly, if you play it long enough, the rules are set so somebody wins within an hour or two and has all the money. And that's the way our system is. You can easily design a system so that that money continues to circulate. Capitalism is designed, and it's just nature is to take money to the top and continually funnel it to the top. But we need a system that then takes that money and moves it back down to the bottom. An easy way would be taxation. That's a simple system. Would just be, hey, we're going to tax money at the top.
So what? I mean, that's a very broad description. Tax money at the top. Can you provide a little more granularity on that?
Yeah, like you could have. So I'm a CPA. I'm a certified public accountant. Okay. You could have, and I'm not necessarily advocating any one of these, but you could have. You could go back to top marginal tax rates, like during the Eisenhower years that were like in the 70%.
So
you could go back to. You could have something like, hey, we have a top tax. We have a top income of $10 million a year, and if you make anything above $10 million, 100% tax. Could have that. I'm not necessarily advocating.
So what would be the incentive after you earn your $10 million to keep your business open, to keep paying your employees?
Well, so people don't run businesses to make 11 million, to make 12 million. That is really, I don't know.
Well, I'm just asking, what would be the incentive after you get to $10 million?
Somebody at 10 million might say, look, somebody might say I'm not going to work anymore. People that make more than that, they're working for more than money. They work for power, prestige. Hey, I go to work, I work about 60 hours a week. I like to work. I mean, it's not a bad, it's interesting and stuff.
Okay, so you're saying that they wouldn't do that, they might do that, but they probably won't.
Economic incentives motivate people in different ways. Money is one of the motivators, but it's not the only motivator. So there's also a motivation, for instance, of building a good community and employing people to work, of providing good jobs, of being responsible in the community. If you had a maximum tax rate of, let's just say we had a maximum wage you could make is $10 million. Everything above that was taxed 100%. A business owner may choose, if they were making something like $100 million a year, a business owner would then choose like, okay, I'm going to either pay $90 million in taxes, or I give $90 million away, or I pay my employees $90 million more. But the most I'm going to take home is $10 million.
Well, why would you keep working after you've earned $10 million?
People work for a lot more reasons than money. They work for community, they work for power, they work for prestige.
Right, but are you saying there's no disincentives to work, that left to our own devices we would just go to work?
Of course, so people worked long before there was money.
Well, yeah, but they earned, they made stuff to consume. They made stuff to live in. They made stuff. When people worked before there was money, they were working to survive.
Right.
Once you've survived, leisure is a product you're interested in, and sometimes I think.
But if people, I understand that. So if people could buy leisure, that's one of the economic theories, that people with more money would buy leisure. Why isn't somebody who's making $10 million buying a lot of leisure? Why are they trying to make 15 or 20 or 30?
Well, I'm sure they do buy a lot of leisure, and they earn a lot of money too. I mean, that's something that they do. But let me ask you: do you believe that our economy is a capitalist economy?
Oh yeah,
it is.
Oh yeah.
Structured as it currently is. So capitalism involves government having enough power to give special favors to corporations.
Oh, that's capitalism.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
That's mercantilism or fascism. forced cartelization and monopolies. That's mercantilism and fascism.
Okay. I don't know all the terms necessarily or have the definitions that you do, but capitalism is a system whereby people accumulate capital. They use in economics. You bring capital together, labor.
Well, yeah, but if you view anybody who uses capital, the communists in USSR used capital to do their stuff, and so they were capitalists. By that definition, by your definition.
You're always going to have productive capital in a system,
Right.
a piece of equipment, machinery. But in capitalism, in our system, you take land, labor, machinery, and you make something. And because we're efficient at that, we make more than it costs just to replace the system.
Okay.
So you create a surplus. The surplus continues to build. You build a surplus year one, you build a surplus year two, surplus. And over time, somebody owns and controls that surplus. In our system, that's called capitalism, and the capitalists own and control the surplus.
So what is socialism then?
I don't know all the isms to sit there and give you a definition. I can't give you a definition. What I think of socialism, I think of an economy that's organized more towards social needs. And one of the classic definitions is that in socialistic countries, some industries, not all, but some industries would be run by the government or quasi-governmental agencies for the benefit. So you can in different parts of our system are socialistic. We have socialistic school systems, socialistic police, socialistic
economies. We've got a very socialistic economy when there's corporate welfare and individual welfare. There's a lot of money that goes from the government directly to corporations or to people, and there's a lot of money that goes not directly, but it goes into force to make people consume services from private individuals.
Getting a lot of noise from this guitar.
Yeah.
We might want to relocate.
We're also getting
So
some noise from that
you seem like you have a bias against socialism.
Well, I have a certain bias against socialism. I have a very big bias towards freedom, and that's why I'm biased against socialism. Yeah. Anytime you give the government the authority to do as much as needs to happen by the government in a socialist economy, the government people turn into the same banksters that you seem to be protesting against here. So let me ask you what you think about the bank bailouts in 2008.
Let's relocate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we relocate?
I think you're asking complex questions. In a system, it's like, without getting into all the isms, people want to have meaningful work. To be respected for what they do each day. And some people have been given a lot of talents. And to those that are given talents and resources, much is expected.
Do you think that anybody has developed their talents to be better and be able to earn more money with them or more remunerative?
Absolutely. I mean, people work. Look, I'm a CPA. I have an MBA. I have financial licenses, Series 7 and Series 66.
I bet you have a pretty big student loan too, don't you?
I have life insurance, health insurance, and disability insurance licenses. So in the financial realm, I'm about as licensed and skilled as anybody out there. But those are it's like that's my gift, and somebody else here can have gifts of other kinds. But in the economic world, the gifts I've been given are compensated, respected, all those things. And it's like, yeah, I work hard. I just told you, I work 60 hours a week. I work harder than anybody in my company. And I do want to get rewarded for that, but there's other ways to be rewarded than just pure money.
Okay.
In some systems, people are rewarded by being esteemed. We're all human beings. We want to be respected and liked and appreciated. So I do feel appreciation from providing employment and health care to my workers, for instance, and providing a life for them, and a way for them to earn a living and educate their kids and take care of their families. It's not all altruistic, but we've created a system that's driven based on greed, and we're beautiful people that can operate a system in it with other motivators.
So do you think that we can, I don't know, breed greed out of the human persona? Isn't that something that's inherent in every person?
Yes. People are greedy, people are selfish, people are generous, people are nice, people are angry, people are happy, people are sad. We have all these emotions, but you don't have to create a system that rewards greed. Okay, we've created a system that rewards greed.
Doesn't capitalism in and of itself takes greed and turns it into a virtue even?
How is greed a virtue?
Because you create a product that your customers deserve, and you don't force them to buy it. They buy it of their own volition. You don't force people to work for you. They work for you because you give them remunerative pay and you give them benefits that they don't have.
No, so I'll say the first thing that yes, people aren't forced to buy things, but in terms of working people, this system forces people to work. But you cannot, unless you're rich, if you just start,
nobody can quit?
Yeah, you can't extract your labor from the system. How do you eat? How do you live?
You go work somewhere else. Or you start your own business.
I'm saying you can't, that option's not available.
Why is that not available?
Well, how many people can start their own business? It takes capital and resources.
Well, people could go get loans from the banks that...
Banks aren't loaning, so...
Well, banks would loan if they had customers.
Banks are not loaning money. I'm a CPA, I know banks are not loaning money, okay? I'll tell you, banks are not loaning money.
Okay, so nobody can start a business, and nobody can.
Of course, people can start business.
Okay.
But you're asking.
Well, I'm just asking. I'm asking what. I mean, you're saying that people are slaves. I mean, I'm saying that they're allowed to quit, and you're saying that they're not.
In our system, okay, just kind of without looking at individual people, if you got labor, people with labor, that's all they have to sell to the market. They are essentially required to sell their labor to the market. They don't have the luxury of withholding it, because if they withhold it, they don't eat, they don't feed.
Yeah, but they can determine who they sell it to.
But they can't sell it.
Or they cannot. You guys aren't selling your labor?
Some people here are homeless, yes, but I'm telling you, in terms of studying economics, the theory of labor, most workers do not have the resources because they don't have capital or savings to, if you're a 20-year-old just left home, let's say, and out on your own, yeah, you can start a business if you can, there's the American myth that, look, the guy can get a bike and he can be a bicycle delivery, and then he can save up and he can invest in maybe a car, and then he can buy FedEx, and one day he can be a billionaire like Bill Gates.
Or Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Right. They started their business in the garage.
Right. That's possible.
So if you work hard, you can succeed.
Do you think the people that are down here that are homeless, that are having to struggle on this kind of existence, are working hard?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I've met a few people down here that I'm really impressed with. But my point here.
Most of the people in this camp are homeless people, and not part of the occupied Portland. Most people in this camp are homeless people.
Okay.
So when you're just 80, I'd say 8 out of 10 people in this camp just right now. So when you're talking to them, are homeless people that are down and out.
Okay.
Not aggressive, successful people in our economy.
Okay. I mean, I'm just,
they're probably never going to start a business. It's not in them.
Can you get a job?
Well, I just heard today that I think there's like 18 million people unemployed in this country officially, and there's 3.3 million jobs on the market nationwide. So if everybody right now could be matched up with every job and filled instantly, we'd still have 15 million people who wouldn't have a job.
Do you think taxing businesses is going to make them hire more?
Businesses do not hire because of taxes.
Okay, but do you think taxing them more is going to make them hire more?
That's not why people hire.
I'm just asking the one question.
So the question is no.
Okay, so no, it won't cause them to hire more.
The answer is, do I think increased business taxes would decrease employment?
No. Decrease unemployment.
Let me just see if I get the question right. Your question is, would increased taxes on corporate profits decrease employment?
No, that's not what I asked.
Okay.
I asked if it would decrease unemployment. If you tax them more, will they hire more?
Those two are connected. If they had higher demand for their products and services, they would hire more.
So what?
And they need to have higher demand. They have to have customers, and to have customers have to have money.
So what is your basis for calling for higher taxes, corporate taxes, then, if you don't think it'll improve unemployment?
No, I thought your question was, do I think raising taxes will lead to more unemployment?
No, I asked if it would lead to more employment or lower unemployment.
It depends on what you do with the tax money. By the money circulating through the system. Okay, right now the money goes to the top. Capitalism funnels money to the top. That's just what it does. And it's not bad, but if it just sits there and it doesn't work, capital is like manure. It needs to be spread around. Money.
What's your opinion of the Federal Reserve?
I understand how the Federal Reserve works. Study macroeconomics. The Federal Reserve it's like such a deep, dark thing. I don't know what to say about it because there's pluses and minuses. One thing it does is it handles our monetary policy. And prior to having an agent handling monetary policy, what we had in this was ups and downs of the business always goes through cycles.
And we haven't had that since then?
No, we still have it. But
we have it a lot worse.
No.
Yes.
No. You go back to pre-Fed.
A lot worse, and we have inflation instead of deflation.
Hang on a second, because and that's another issue, and we'll talk about it in a second. But let's be honest about business cycles. Prior to the Fed in 1920, business cycles were like this. Okay. Go look at the economic.
Okay, so first of all, the Fed was in 1913.
1913. So prior to 1913.
Okay, you're wrong, but go ahead.
Okay.
We're going to disagree on that.
Business cycles were much more extreme. Because
but they ended quicker, right? You went into a depression, and it ended like within 18 months. It wasn't, 5 years like we've been in this one. Sorry.
I don't know about it, and I don't know if you can make the apple to. I don't know if they're comparable. But here's the theory behind monetary policy. Monetary policy allows when the government is when the business cycle is heating up. They use increase interest rates to slow it. And so what they're trying to do is not let it get too far out ahead of itself. And when it's on its way down, they use interest rates, that's monetary policy, to increase the money supply to hopefully speed it up. And the theory behind that is, and I haven't done macroeconomic research, but the theory is as business is heating up, you want to kind of just slow it down a little bit, and as it's falling down, you want to fuel it a little bit. To me, that makes sense. Now, I don't know that it needs to be done by a private bank called the Fed in the way it's done right now, but that monetary policy, I think overall makes us all a little better off in an economic system.
What's your opinion of the gold standard?
Don't have one.
You don't have an opinion, or we don't have a gold standard?
Well,
one of them's obvious.
Yeah, we don't have a gold standard, and I just really haven't thought about that much.
Okay.
The thing about it is, I really haven't studied it, but I do know, when we broke the gold standard, one of the situations is you want to keep your money supply growing with the size of the economy. Like when we had a money supply of, let's say, $1 billion was enough dollars floating around in an economy in, let's say, 1850, right? If we never printed any more money or increased the money supply,
then the price of products would have gone down.
Man, you're asking me to do algebra in my head. If we only had $1 billion trying to chase this whole economy...
Well, just in general purposes, you have the same amount of money chasing a growing amount of goods and services.
Right.
So the price of everything would have gone down.
Probably.
Right? I mean, just the basic aero analysis. We learned this in nuclear power school.
Okay.
That's how you determine what direction something's going to move when you change one certain...
It's 10:30 at night. I've had a long day, so
well, I understand that.
I'm trying to do the math, and I agree with you that it would have gone one way, and it probably.
So it would have made things less expensive for people in general, right? Having a gold standard.
I don't know. If you say so, but it would have.
Do you think that there is a problem?
Would we have had the money to build stuff though? Because you have.
Well, I mean, if everything would have cost less, then it would have taken less money to build stuff, right? I mean, products and services in the economy are what everything is chasing, and so money's just a placeholder. The fact is that you would have charged less money for everything, and so right now we'd be buying a cheeseburger for like a penny. But regardless of all that, and that's just a description. I don't know if that would actually be mathematically correct.
No, I got it.
So do you think? Okay, this is. I think we've exhausted that string.
Okay.
But do you think that there is any greed in government? Do you think that government controls could have caused some of the collapse in 2008 at all? Any of it? Or removal of controls or anything?
Well, greed in government. I'd like to think of government as government. When they're in a government agency and have a government position, they've got an agenda. If you were like playing game theory or something, they've got a role to play and stuff. And hopefully their role should be benevolent and as a facilitator to help us.
Do you think they are benevolent?
At times, and at times right now, they're a mixed bag. The government is big. It's on the national level, local level, state level. There are parts of the government I like and parts of the government I don't like.
Yeah, but you're forced to consume all of government. You can't really remove your consent anymore.
Right, and our government's gotten too big. It's just too big.
Right.
The whole country's too big. I personally don't think a 300 million person political entity works. It's just too large.
So that gets kind of to my bread and butter. Have you ever heard you've heard of the 10th Amendment, right? You're an educated guy to the Constitution.
What is it?
The powers not enumerated to the federal government in the Constitution or are prohibited
states.
to the states or reserved to the states or the people respectively.
Okay.
So do you think that this country would run better if less stuff was controlled from Washington, D.C. and more stuff was controlled from Salem or Portland City Hall or Kitsap County?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that maybe the federal government we should re-examine the Constitution and what the federal government's doing and allow locations to govern themselves more in a self-rule manner where, say, Washington State, maybe if they disagree with, say, pick a policy.
I agree. I believe in state rights, and even more decentralized than that. I do have issues as well. Like I saw the woman who won the latest Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize in Economics, Eleanor something. She's the only female economics Nobel winner.
Okay.
She won Eleanor Ostrom is her name. And what she earned her Nobel on was cooperative economics. And the theory of economics that has always been held is economics based on a bunch of theories. One of the theories was always that the tragedy of the commons. Probably heard of that?
I've heard of the tragedy of the commons.
And what the tragedy of the commons is if you and I had, us four had a field between us and we were sharing that field, the tragedy of the commons... all the pigs, dare ya! The tragedy of the commons would be that we would overgraze that land because we wouldn't be able to cooperate.
Okay, I know what
we
you're
would all be
about.
Incentivized to overuse it.
Right, because nobody owns it, so nobody's incentivized to take care of it.
Correct.
Right, and you're incentivized to grab all you can while you're able to farm it.
Right, that was a theory, and everybody just accepted that as the gospel. Our neoclassical economic theory is based on the tragedy of the commons.
For instance, until buffaloes were actually added to farms, and when nobody owned them, they were almost hunted to extinction.
Well, there's a story there of why they all almost got run off in about a 4 or 5 year time frame for a variety of reasons. Railroad. Well, the railroad came in, and then the ability, rifles, the ability of people to extract that natural resource very quick. No sense of anything, but that's another thing. But if we had a piece of land, tragedy of the commons says we would overgraze it in that. Eleanor Ostrom, Dr. Eleanor Ostrom, Nobel economics winner this most recent year, she showed all over the world where people cooperate on managing common resources. Saw her lecture about a month or two ago, but it doesn't always work. Like, what she found is about 70% of the time people could cooperate and manage that successfully, and about 30% of the time it would collapse. When it was government managed, the success rate was lower. Okay,
sure.
And the government management would be like fishing off the Oregon coast. You know, they've got a common thing, a fish stock. They've got to allocate it to people, and they do that. They try to manage it so it doesn't collapse. And the government around the world, this could be wells, it could be grazing land, it could be fisheries, it could be forestry, it could be a lot of different natural resources. Government success rate was like 50% because they're politically influenced. They don't know what they're doing, all sorts of reasons. But anyway, coming back to hers, cooperatively working, people can figure it out, but it's not perfect because my point earlier was having systems in place we have got to have systems in place that manage these things. And for me, where we're at right now, transparency, accountability, awareness, it can't be driven by greed. If it's just about greed, I'm going to get as much as I want, we're doomed. And let me tell you one thing, I've studied a lot of economics, and the most profound piece that I have learned in my studies is this woman in the 30s studied a bunch of different cultures. And what she studied was she was able to put them into good cultures and bad. And she realized that wasn't a very scientific term. And almost every culture would fall into these. And this is tribal cultures, island cultures, different societies. Good cultures was low level of violence, fairly egalitarian, women and children treated generally well. Bad culture is the opposite. Men and women, or women and children not treated that well, not egalitarian, high level of violence, and there's a couple other things, but these camps. And there was a couple anomalies in the middle, but most fell into one of those two camps. When she looked at what it came down to, of what made a good culture and a bad culture, a good culture was that we were esteemed, because we're all social animals. I want to be liked by you, you want to be liked by me. The good cultures, people were esteemed by what they gave. In the bad cultures, people were esteemed by what they had. In that system, which is where we are, we're esteemed by what we have. It forces everybody into a dog-eat-dog cycle of trying to get as much as possible. In the good cultures where people were esteemed by what they had, you start a virtuous cycle where people are like, no, you have food. No, you have food. No, you have food. No, you have food. And we all get what we need.
So how do you create this society where nobody is greedy for anything?
Well, it's a paradigm. I don't know how to create it. It isn't going to happen here, but it's a paradigm shift. I'm just saying these are two things. We have a system right now where people are esteemed by, I just thought about it the other day. How would that look? You get on a plane right now, and I walk through first class when I get on a plane. And my heart goes out a little bit like, gosh, I wish I got to sit up in first class. That looks pretty nice. They're on board first. They got a bigger seat. They're getting, a little better meal, free drinks. There are papers there. I go back
So you can pay to get in first class if you want.
Right, but why don't we? But what I'm saying is my this is just me. My esteem goes up a little bit for them. Like, but what if instead of looking at them that way, if this is a psychological change, right? Because you're asking how we get there. I don't know how to make it happen, but a change would be like, what if you walked through there and you were like, kind of looked up at them and like, God, why is that greedy person there when they could be sitting 4 rows back, and the difference in ticket price they could have given to meet some needs, because there's a lot of needs on this world right now. One in 4 kids in this community living in poverty.
So let me ask you something. Is it charitable for, let's say I had a gun, I don't, but let's say I did. Is it charitable for me to go steal money from somebody on the street and bring it to somebody who's in poverty?
That's a libertarian kind of a story of like, hey, taking money is theft. Okay.
Well, is it charitable though?
It's not. No, it's not charitable. That would be theft.
It's not charitable. It's theft.
Right.
So why is it okay for the government to do the same thing? Take 70% of somebody's money, which is what you said the top tax rate should be. Well, and then just spread it around to whoever that they decide is their favorite pets.
Right. That's the rules, because that's the difference is that's the rules of society that we've created through our bodies and institutions.
Okay,
that
but
rate,
that's,
that rate
that's
could,
not,
I said that rate could be 70%,
okay,
right?
That's
You could argue the rate.
No.
If you take your story of that's theft, then why don't we make it zero? And we have no government, no taxes, and see how that works.
Okay. So, but you're against that?
Well, that would look like Somalia or a black market to me.
Well, okay, so...
Isn't a black market no rules?
No, it's rules that exist that are being avoided. See, black markets wouldn't exist with no government. I'm not really trying to make the case for no government, but I'm saying that if the government gets to decide how much, and government produces nothing, right? Essentially.
No, that's not true.
Okay, what do they produce?
Oh, well, the government through us, the government is us, technically.
What do they produce?
Well, they make parks, they buy roads.
Right, but they took the money to make that from somebody else.
Right, but where did somebody else get it?
They got it by working. Or creating something that somebody was willing to give them something of value for.
So when Disney drew Mickey Mouse and then got copyright laws changed, what did they create? When they extended copyright laws to Mickey Mouse about 10 years ago, and all they did was Congress passed a law that said, Mickey Mouse, you're not...
Right, that's not capitalism, that's fascism. That's government doing something for the specific welfare of one person or one corporation.
But that wealth would never have been created without the government creating copyrights and laws to enforce it.
It would have been created without the guy drawing Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
The government did none of the work and collected a percentage of the revenue.
But they created the government. You know, I hate to speak of the government as this weird entity because it's us.
What does the government produce though?
Well, the wealth, some of the wealth that's around here. Okay, what has the government created? The government. Let's talk the hydroelectric system.
Okay, but that wasn't created by government. That was created by money that they took and gave to a private entity to build it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't created by government. So what does the government create?
Then how does anything get created?
It gets created by individuals that get together to create it. It gets created. You know, the sidewalk was created by the government forced people to build it.
You know, I've heard these things. I've heard these things.
People to build.
You got a system. If you started with nothing. Okay, it's just you and I and us four. And we're here in Portland, and there's not a single thing here, okay? People start, because that's the way it was. People started, creating things, building a house, building the water wheel, building whatever.
Okay.
And then they got together, and they collectively got together, and they said, there's some things we can do better together than we can alone.
Okay, so what does the government do better than individuals?
They built the highway system, they built the... like I just pointed to, public universities, public schools. They take care, there's places in an economy that would not get served if it was purely based on markets, okay?
What wouldn't get served if it was purely based on markets?
50 million healthcare people right now don't have healthcare. That's a market problem.
That is not a market-created problem. The government drove up the price of healthcare through price controls, through Medicare, Medicaid, through, at the time that Obamacare was initiated, more than 50% of healthcare was provided by the government. With that much money chasing healthcare, it's no surprise that it drove up the prices to the level where the average citizen can't afford it anymore without getting a intermediary, namely a fascist entity known as healthcare provided by their employer to do it for them.
So let me ask you this: have you taken many economics courses?
Online at Ludwig von Mises Institute.
Okay, cool. You have a piece of truth, and I'm not denying
There's a piece of truth? That's 100% truth. That's historical fact. The price of healthcare was tiny before the federal government got in to make it affordable.
No,
and now it's unaffordable.
The price of healthcare was very inexpensive in the 50s, prior to the advent of really domination.
Medicare, Medicaid.
I would say before
and the price controls that force corporations to, rather than paying their employees a reasonable wage, to pay them partially in healthcare insurance, which it isn't insurance, it's prepaid health care actually, which drove the price. The third-party payer system, which is a creation of the federal government, is responsible for the increase in price of medicine since the 50s. The wage and price controls forced them to attract better workers. They had to pay them more, and the only way they could pay them more, because they were under wage and price controls, was to give them medical insurance.
Right. And so it turned out that way.
And then they made medical insurance tax deductible, so it made it so all employers started doing that, because it was a cheaper way to give the employees a better benefit. But what that does is it creates a whole bunch of money that funnels into healthcare. And then the doctors don't have to compete on price anymore. All they do is they charge you whatever it is. And when you're not the person paying, a third-party payer is, of course you'll pay it, because you don't care, because it doesn't hurt you at all. You pay a copay.
Different types of markets for different commodities are different. People don't price shop healthcare. When you need
they would if they were paying for it. They're not paying.
Generally,
for it.
when you know, sometimes when you need to go to see a doctor, you go to just see a doctor, and you've got your natural thing. And the economic system we've got right now has problems, and it isn't. And I don't believe the answer is less government. In some areas, potentially.
Do you think
nobody wants to go ahead?
Do you think that the bank CEOs would have gotten their bonuses had we not bailed them out?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you think that they might have?
What I do think about
wouldn't have existed
the little thing I will say about the bank bailout, like, I'm not for that at all. Like generally not for it. And at the other side of that coin is understanding that when the thing was collapsing in 2008, we were about this close to complete meltdown.
We didn't have a complete meltdown? I'm looking around me.
No, a complete. Just because we had a negative downturn, a complete meltdown could have been depression. And
we've had a negative downturn that's now lasted 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that the government interceded prevented the free market from acting and righting itself. Had those banks gone out of business, they wouldn't be zombie banks now that were afraid to loan, because they've got a portfolio of real estate that's about to go underwater. And real estate market would have already corrected, because they would have sold it in order to get the money to pay off their debts before they went out of business.
Sold it to who?
And the banks would not have paid them. The banks would not have paid them, any bonuses to their CEOs, which seems to be a big thing.
2 minutes, wrap it up.
Yeah, we're running out of battery life.
I appreciate it. I would just say that. I would just say in closing, there's could have lots of conversations. Would love to have like some chalkboard where
camera across the street.
Might love to have a conversation where we had a chalkboard and some economic text, and really looking at things a little deeper, because there's parts of it that I think you have and that are legitimate, but the system's a little more complex than that. And we live in a modern industrial state. We're not living in 1800, country.
Right.
And I don't know that I want that, because if you wanted that, Somalia's available.
Quickly, 90 seconds.
Yeah. I love you.
Is there anything you want to say?
We need to change the system, and the system needs to work for people. We need a human economy that serves the needs of people within the confines of our ecological system.
Okay. What's the fix?
Yep.
What is the fix?
Where to intervene in a system, there's lots of places. At one level, to me, the fundamental level is the paradigm shift. What do we get up and go to work for each day? And I think that needs to be a being of service, not a being of greed.
Yeah, I don't think it's greedy to feed your children, but that's me.
No, but wouldn't it be so how about it, instead of being greedy about worrying about feeding your children, what if you worried about feeding my children?
Well,
and I worried about feeding yours.
But I
worried about feeding his.
I don't want you to feed my children. I want to feed my children because I care about my children.
Right, but what if we all cared about your children? What if we all just said now,
I don't want anybody else
to
to father my children.
I'm not talking about fathering your children. 4 of us right now, we took care of all the kids in our community, and we said they're all going to be fed.
Right. All right. It was great talking to you, man.
You too. Take care.
And what was your name again, sir?
My name's Brian.
Ron Paul. I don't know if you've heard of him. 10th Amendment movement. If you want to find out more about it.
I know about it, and I'll find out more about it. I don't want to take any paper.
Okay.
And I know about Ron
That's
Paul.
fine.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.